What is going on, everybody? It's episode 158 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. Here goes nothing. I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
What's up, Crisis Actors? It's Mary.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
No, don't lie. We were talking earlier. We said we're
in
fixing.
spite of chaos.
We're fixing the vibes right now. We had you have those days. It's nice weather out too. Usually that is
Not for
accompanied
long.
to
It's gonna start raining in the middle of this show. Actually,
There'll be
literally at 4 p.m. It's supposed to start thunderstorming. So
that feels like right on brand.
Really fitting for the vibe today.
It does. So we are working through the slightly not bad but just uneven vibes that we are feeling today. And to help us through that, we have a guest host today. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm like the senior reporter, I think.
How many articles did you get written today so far?
I've written 4 so far. If you don't know, I write 5 every day. You should read them on timcast.com.
Again, on timcast.com.
But I write 5 every day. It's all news. So that's why I love coming on the show, because it gives me a chance to talk about news that's not just like policy and some days I feel like if I'm not talking about monkeypox or abortion, then like
well, yeah,
that's all.
Thank you.
Ooh, gotta protect my coffee.
Didn't you say at one point you're like happy if you've done 3 by the time you come up to the studio?
Yeah, I got into a habit when I first started working here because of the times that Tim records. I used to get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and like write most of my stuff but much earlier, and then I sort of shifted into being a regular person who was like, this is crazy.
4 a.m.
So I usually have 3 articles that are up, or at least with our editor Chris Carr, who's excellent.
Yeah.
But today I'm on 4, so maybe that's fixing the vibes for you guys. I'm having a productive day.
And to help us with this, before we even get started, I do want to play something very specific from
this is going to be the best part of the show.
Wait,
it's all
what's
downhill from here, but
it will
we
be,
had to show you.
So here we go. This is
I feel
from
like this is a surprise party. What are you guys doing?
get ready.
So we gotta stay sober, we gotta get jacked, pray, meditate. Don't fucking think it's all just a bunch of kumbaya bullshit. If you're like, I don't believe in God, fucking believe in him, motherfucker, because he believes in you. And if you don't want to use the word God, then fine, pick some fucking word. But it's God, motherfucker. God. Guidance, order, and direction. Period.
I didn't think about the fact that he uses such terrible language in the video, but I still think it was necessary to show you guys Chet Hanks has uplifted the vibe
Did
today.
he post that today, or was he like, Motivation Monday,
today.
here we go?
Yeah, and then the day before he posted a video in a
Guys gotta
similar format just titled Jacked, saying that everyone needs to get jacked so they can be comfortable in their own skin.
He's
The thing is, like, this is not the worst thing that he's done. I'm almost okay with this.
No, I love it.
No.
He's
I
kind
love
of
it, and I'm
coming-
so sad that Dane is not here, but this is a tribute to Dane.
Yeah, good old Dave.
While he's in his fatherland, we're still covering Chet Hanks.
Chet Hanks, man. What if he becomes like our generation's Tony Robinson, who's like,
He'll
Tony
become
Robbins.
something
you can
even
do
greater.
it.
he could do that. It's like all his stuff is like motivational and hilarious and awesome. So I posted that on my story earlier with the hashtag "In Chet We Trust." So now that the mood has officially been lifted,
Yes.
we can thank you.
Thank you.
We can get started, and we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today. We are going to talk about Letitia Wright. I don't know if it's a Leticia or Letitia. There's no C in the name.
I thought it was just Letitia.
Letitia Wright, and nearly dying on the set of Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever. A very serious injury, as well as like another Redditor who worked on the show. So there's a bunch of stuff coming out there.
Thank you.
So much is
thank
happening
you.
right now.
Exactly.
It's not that much.
Little by little.
Relax.
We're good.
I just have an open cup of coffee. I like,
It's one of the dollar bills is going to fall into,
or like
Eventually.
as
knock it into a
happened to
camera,
Ian.
and then Brett's gonna jump across and punch me in the face.
That would pop a rating, I am sure. So we're going to talk about Letitia Wright. Then we're going to talk about Marvel, how they treat their animators. That is all one segment. And I want to fold that into a topic about this great article that somebody wrote about Martin Scorsese and Marvel and the Marvel formula, which is essentially franchise filmmaking. What I love about it is I think I would disagree with this lady who wrote this article about 98% of the things in the world, just judging by the way she writes. I'm putting a little bit of judgment on there, but I love this article and I thought it was really good. And then after that, Mary is going to be very excited to talk about Brendan Urie. Is it Brendan or Brendan?
Urie, Brendan.
Brendan.
Of Panic at the Disco. I feel very ahead of the game on this because I saw his name trending yesterday, and I'm excited to get into it. Because
Did you write an article for timcast.com?
I did, yeah. It's like really exciting.
I'm single-handedly the newsroom's marketing department.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we're going to talk about Brendan, not Brandon, because that would be like calling me Brent. That's a problem.
Or Branthony.
Or Branthovic or Branthony. So we're going to get into that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of stuff. So if you ladies are ready, the vibes have officially started to lift. Are we ready? Let's just get into it.
We are ready.
Let's do it.
All right. So it says Letitia Wright nearly died in Marvel's Black Panther 2 accident. And basically what happened is she fractured her shoulder and got a major concussion doing like a motorcycle stunt. And when you get the description of like what she had
Moms
to
everywhere point to this story and say, look what happens when you ride a motorcycle.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's like my parents when I picked up skating, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get, my dad didn't say that stuff, but my mom said that stuff. But it's one of those things where one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this, in addition to the other articles, like when you think of companies of this size, of Disney, of Marvel, of the size of these production companies, you assume that it's like this streamlined, well-oiled machine. And from what I can see here, judging from the outside looking in, it's absolutely not that. So it says the information comes from a result of a post on Reddit regarding visual effects workers complaining about working for Marvel, where a crew member for Black Panther 2 goes into detail about Letitia Wright's accident that caused during the filming of Black Panther 2 to be delayed, where it was reported that Wright suffered a fractured shoulder and a concussion with severe side effects. And I am sure that when you're an actor, you don't sign up for like...
Well, okay. One of the details of this article that kind of bothered me, it was saying that she didn't actually feel safe about performing the scene.
But they made her do it anyway.
Is that something that they can make her do? Is it a breach of contract to not do your own stunts?
Maybe she felt too worried to like say, I don't want to do this. I'm picturing Tom Cruise in the background giving her judgy eyes. Like, oh, you don't want to do your own stunts?
You don't have jet fuel in your blood?
Exactly.
I think part of it is in contract, they say, like, you're responsible for these kinds of stunts, or, like, I assume we need a stuntman to come on here who's like, oh, if it's just something small, actors do it themselves. If it's something big that's choreographed, then a professional does it.
Sure, but then you would think, like, a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate would be able to ensure your safety.
Yeah,
it makes.
I think that's the thing. Like, did she not feel safe because she wasn't trained? Did she claim on her acting resume, yes, I can ride a motorcycle, and then she was like, can't tell anyone I can't do that, but actually I don't know what I'm doing.
Jordana Brewster and Michelle Rodriguez neither had driver's licenses when they got hired for the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah, I think it's like a joke. I mean, Friends makes this joke all the time with that man actor who's on it, like
the man actor,
Joey, maybe.
Wait, there are multiple men.
Brett is judging me,
show.
and I was born in a time before you guys.
There's multiple men. In Friends.
There's only one who's an actor. Anyways, and he he claims he can like ride horseback and speak French, and he like cannot do those things. I think that there's like a question here about like,
so
did she not feel
Joey,
like if she said, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing that, is she in breach of contract, or did she not understand that her contract allowed her to get out of it?
So I'm going to read the statement that they make.
It made me laugh.
It's fairly long.
Okay,
so it
here
says,
we go.
okay, so my last show, my truck drivers was the picture car driver for for Black Panther 2, and our props guy were also there. I was rigging in Atlanta. She was injured in Boston. During a motorcycle stunt, she said she didn't feel safe, so they strapped her down to the motorcycle. Yeah, I know. My jaw dropped at the sheer stupidity and sheer amount of people who had to thumbs up that decision to make it happen. The motorcycle was on a biscuit car. The stunt driver probably would hit that stunt 19 times out of 20, right? Well, the 20th time happened. No, that does not, they didn't do 20 takes. They're just saying that all is well until shit hits the fan. That one time it all goes wrong. And you're basically relying on sheer dumb luck for safety. And that's kind of like the industry as a whole. Like, as safe as you make it, it's never 100% safe. It's never going to be 100% safe.
Okay, but he is also admitting that they are acting like a ragtag, like independent grassroots set.
Yeah, they're not like college kids making a movie.
They easily have more than enough resources to make sure that things like this don't happen. You don't need to rely on luck.
Thank you. Guarantee you the budget is over $200 million.
Of course.
So, It says the biscuit car hit the curb. Says the biscuit car hit the curb so hard it broke the welding, and the biscuit went one way, and the bike with her attached went the other. It broke her collarbone for certain. Probably more than that. I don't know for sure. Speculating based on physics and common sense. Severe concussion, and one of the props guys I referred to got to ride with her to the hospital in the EMS because he was the only one who knew how to take off the Black Panther helmet that she was wearing, and they think that is what saved her life, basically.
Insane.
She was legitimately severely injured and went back home to London to heal and rehab. I was injured myself by the end of that week, but the show went on a month-long hiatus last September, shot around her in October and November. So basically, they had to shoot around her injury. She's not in every scene of the movie. That's fine.
Yeah.
You have to do that. So they pushed back the 8-week hiatus because of COVID. Pushed about everyone by 2 weeks after Christmas and New Year and holiday break. New Year holiday break. I never went back because I was rehabbing my knee for 7 months. But the show wrapped in late February last year. They're currently doing 14 days of reshoots in Los Angeles. Like I said, I keep thinking that these are like well-oiled machines, but when you're working at this level, you'd think at the very least, if not well-oiled, safe. I can't speak to the...
Every day I become more and more of like a worried soccer mom, despite the fact that I'm not married, don't have children. Like this whole thing, like when he's like, yes. And then they were like, you know, it's a good idea. Let's strap her to the motorcycle. And you know what? Let's do this. I want to be like
there. Agree to that?
And just be like, what are you doing? I mean, I guess she really trusted them and was like, they were like, no, this is how it works all the time.
We always strap our actors to cars that are attached to motorcycles.
In my
like, I would
industry,
sue, but I don't even think that she has the
I
grounds
bet-
to do that.
No, I bet her
Because
contract
they
prevents her from
they
it.
build their incompetence into their contracts.
Yeah. They're like,
Like,
we know we're going to mess it up. We're just not
I guess
sure
that's how liability works, but also like you could be more responsible, right?
They also talk about her anti-vax stuff. That's what they call it. And she basically
That's
what caused
kind
this
of
accident.
irrelevant.
She posted a bunch of stuff about
Thank you.
About being hesitant, like anything that means like you're not like 100% like jab me now was taken as anti-vax during the height of COVID hysteria, which is essentially what happened. They said like, she's like, look, my people have been tested on and experimented on before. I'm hesitant to do this. She's also very religious. I was talking recently with someone, Rockman Dunbar is an actor who he had to leave a show called 911 because he didn't want to get vaccinated. He said, look, it's fine. Like, I think it's not fair, but I get it. Like, these are the rules. I choose not to. But they blew hers out of proportion and were making it seem like that was the reason all of this got put on hold.
Well, they did. I mean, at the time, if I'm remembering this correctly, there was like a COVID outbreak on set or something, and they all had to like take a break for quarantine or isolation or whatever. And the way they presented it was like, so there's been COVID delays on the set of Black Panther 2. Anyway, so this one actress who's there isn't vaccinated. Like, we should just assume it was her fault.
With the timing that he described,
Meanwhile, they're like, we'll
sounds
strap
more
you to
like-
a motorcycle for punishment.
Doesn't matter if you
it
get COVID
sounds
if
more
you-
like she got the injuries and was in recovery. In the meantime, the regulations for vaccines came about and then became a problem. But I also I wanted to read this part where he said, I tore my ACL on Wakanda Forever 5 days after they hurt the actress. At the time, I was set lighting. I've since switched to VFX and can 100% confirm being on Marvel's sets is always an S show.
Yep, it's a disaster zone. And the funny thing about this is she got blamed for the delays because of her anti-vax stance, but it once again proves that it's
just a cover.
Even though
for
it wasn't
their-
even clear that she had COVID.
But
Like,
it's
Yeah.
not just that, but it's also it's really really shallow because they say right here, it says her anti-vax was not that big of a, her being anti-vax was not that big of a thing that social media made it out to be. The effing movie was shot primarily in the state of Georgia, where a lot of the crew was anti-vax, and those who weren't vaccinated tested more frequently than those who were. So they had protocols in place, like, look, you don't have to get vaccinated, but you do have to at least get tested more frequently than the rest. But they blame them, and it's also funny, like somebody being like, maybe I will, maybe I won't, just take it. It's like anti this, anti that, when she's just exercising her right to bodily autonomy.
I found this interesting that it seems like they used the anti-vax thing as like a cover for their incompetence on set. and then
Her injury.
with the timing of the Rust shooting happening,
Yeah.
and just like the overall conversation about like safety on Hollywood sets.
They talk about the
There's
Deadpool
like
too.
there's definitely a balance of like how much of doing your own stunts and like having realistic props and realistic action scenes is badass, and how much of it is just irresponsible. Like I think about in like old Hollywood, like remember the Tin Man on Wizard of Oz who got like
Allergic to
lung failure from like
He was
aluminum particles on
He was
like,
allergic to the paint
his
that they
paint,
used.
yeah. And like how much of that is dedication to the craft and how much of it is just like sheer stupidity and like reckless treatment of like people's lives.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. Brett talks about all the time how we don't give awards to like the best stuntmen in Hollywood, and in some ways I wonder if we were if the industry talked more about stunts and like what goes on and how you train for it and like the dangers behind it and like what does the insurance for these kind of movies look like what does liability look like, if we would have a better understanding of like, is it even worth having a movie with this crazy stunt in it?
Yeah. And what's kind of sick is that like I feel like they treat the stunt actors like they're second class
100%,
citizens
100%.
on the set.
The Deadpool 2 stunt person
Yeah,
died
people
in a
don't even
motorcycle
remember
accident.
that.
Nobody remembers that.
Yeah, which is crazy. And like the thing is, these high budget movies are high budget because of some of the CGI and technical stuff.
Thank you.
But in large part because of these crazy stunts.
And
Yep.
think about the $300K fine that they had to take for the Deadpool 2 incident. It's like what fraction of the overall budget?
Yeah.
It's nothing.
That's a
And
rounding
then,
I
error.
bet-
then the profit that they made off of it afterwards.
And like you
what is
said,
that? A
they
drop in the
build that
bucket.
like $300,000 fine somewhere into their budget. They know somewhere along the line things are going to cost more or something's going to happen.
Yeah.
They don't predict someone's going to die, but like to a
It's
certain extent,
impossible
they are
to.
aware that they can cover that fee. I just think that generally, the more I've been on the show, the more I've talked to, especially like Brett, like who's so interested in movie production. I just feel like we really need some like stunt actor, stunt man lady representation, because I really just know so little about the industry, but Marvel and DC could not survive without it.
Yeah.
It seems like it's like a Wild West industry they don't really want to talk about because it's like,
Yeah.
everything we do is dangerous.
But
Please stop paying attention.
But somehow John Wick gets made with ridiculous stunts that are far more practical with far less injuries, and Keanu Reeves buys all his stuntmen Rolexes.
That's the thing. Like, why can some people govern this without it being like
It's-
insanity
Tom
and some
Cruise
people can't?
Tom Cruise literally is only allowed to do those stunts because he pays for like extra insurance for on himself
Yeah.
because he's worth so much money. It reminds me of there's a really great like TikTok or Instagram video of like Will Smith when they're like on the set of the Suicide Squad, and somebody who's like clearly never picked up a gun before picks up a gun and like muzzle brake, like just like points it at someone in his face, just goes. Like you can tell that he's at least been around them on set his whole life, and it's just like why was there not like an armorer right there to like push that
Right.
dude's like push the muzzle down? Was it loaded? No, it wasn't. But that doesn't matter. The point is that
I was always raised that you're supposed to treat every gun like it's loaded.
as if it's loaded,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's there's a certain amount of like a lack of I don't know if it's like a lack of responsibility, but there's like this attitude that they have to get it done. And they have to get it done
at all costs.
At all costs.
Any possible cost.
And then you look at I had the articles pulled up about the visual effects artists and how difficult it is for them to get anything done because Marvel keeps giving them at the deadline they're asking for changes. It doesn't feel like the well-oiled machine that
it could be if they felt like it.
Yeah.
But what changes are they asking for last minute? Like, is this like having to delete Ezra Miller from like your series, or
wouldn't that
is
be
it
nice?
like actually we changed our mind and we want a slightly different color there?
So it says Marvel has probably the worst methodology of production and visual effects management out there. They can never fix the look of the show before more than half of the allocated time for the show is over. The artists working on Marvel shows are definitely not paid equivalent to the amount of work they put in. The charm for working for Marvel is way more overrated now, and I would much rather be happy working on a TV series after decades and decades of this. And they just talk about it's like whether it's stunts, whether it's visual effects. There is no streamlined. I don't know if it's even possible to be that streamlined with a $250 million ballooned budget to what you're making. Can you even do that?
No,
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously not just the physical safety that is being thrown out the window, but people's like psychological well-being is not considered, and like what one person is capable of is like far overblown, because they think that all of the employees who are behind the scenes are disposable, whereas like in reality they are the people that make these productions possible.
Chris Pratt has this really good line. I saw him in an interview once, and someone was like, "You're so great in that movie. You did such a good job. I mean, really, like, they say something to the effect of like the movie, like, couldn't be without you." And he was like, yeah, I repeat lines that someone else has written me after someone does my makeup perfectly, and I stand on a spot that's been completely lit by someone else while someone else tells me what to do. Yes, you're right. The movie could not happen without me. I wish I remembered that more smoothly, but like, I think about that all the time. I think you're totally right. Like, in some ways it sounds like these are people who are really dedicated to their craft and know that like they are treated as disposable. So like the studio can be like, hey, you have 72 hours to fix this thing that actually takes you weeks. So they work round the clock and they get it done, but it's incredibly stressful. Just even outside of Hollywood, there are companies that know they have employees that are really dedicated and talented who they can just expect to rise to this occasion and get stuff done. And that's not always fair, especially if long term you don't want these people to burn out. I can't imagine like having constant changes to things and also being like, you guys have a $250,000 budget. How much am I getting paid to do this?
I'm left wondering overall, like, what was it for? The ultimate, product, the outcome that they get every time is the same CGI garbage.
And to be fair, like usually 2 acts of it are seamless looking CGI, and then the third act that's like an inside joke, right? Like the third act always looks less good
because they're running out of time and they have 27 other things to do.
But the funny thing about this is they talk about how they basically Marvel they get underbid because Marvel has all the power because they're the biggest company right now. So if you're a stunt person or you're a visual effects artist, and your industry relies on either needing something dangerous to happen on set or needing CG or computer-generated imagery to be built or animations to be made, being the largest company, they can just take lowball offers because they know that they need them more than like Marvel doesn't need them as much as they need Marvel, because Marvel can have their pick of any of these any of these production companies.
I hadn't thought about it from this angle before, but he called Marvel a horrible client, which shows that these are like a lot of freelance
they're not
contractors.
They're not in-house for
They're
Disney.
not in some like big corporation where you get in your cubicle and you do the same thing every day. Like it changes all the time.
Have you ever looked at like the Marvel makes you stay and watch the credits for all their movies for their pointless post-credit scenes? Have you ever looked at just the sheer number of animators and people working on that? And that goes with the stunt people too. So it's like on one hand I kind of get it. Look, it's a huge production. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Obviously, I'm not saying break the people, but I'm saying that it's never going. It's never going to be. It's never going to be a 100% smooth process. But it just feels like this stuff is all coming out at once, and it's very interesting. Given the size of the budgets, you'd think there would be a way for them to streamline the process just a little bit more.
And there are so many people involved in a project at some point that it loses its soul, which we're going to talk about.
We'll do that. Let's do super chats, and we'll get into that.
Yes. Dragon's Talon 1001 said they wanted Letitia to hop up from the accident and say, "'Tis only a flesh wound."
Yes. And go up to the top. We got one from Dizwiz.
Oh.
It says
shotgun.
Perfect.
Okay.
Called Shotgun.
For the whole episode.
He's sitting right there for the whole episode.
Bad App said, "I love you, Brett." All hell, Chet. I like that it's Brett and Chet.
Brett and Chet.
Make a good duo.
That's us.
I want you guys to have like a morning talk show where you like bring
you
people
could be
on.
like the new Paul brothers.
Let's
maybe.
go.
The new what are they called? The Island Boys.
Oh my God. Let's do this.
I think it's a great idea.
License to print money, my friend.
On days that you're not doing the show, Mary should just be your agent and get you other gigs.
Perfect.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said, "What Fozzie Bear almost died in a Miss Piggy rampage? Waka Waka forever." Wait, what?
Waka Waka is this thing, right? Black Panther? Wakanda?
Is that
Wakanda.
what we're calling it now?
I don't know.
Caper2X said, Mary, we miss you at IRL. Howdy, Hannah Claire, aiming for your cup. School marm and word mistress. You're a word mistress.
I'm a school marm. This is amazing.
Javi J said, after those most inspirational words for the creator of White Boy Summer, I'm sad the patron saint of White Boy Summer was not in the studio. We are too, trust us.
We are very sad.
At least we have our statuesque goddess of journalism, Hannah Claire.
That is so
The most
nice.
adorable-
Who is this?
Javi J. The most adorable gelfling? I don't know what that is.
Like
Mary
an elfling?
and Brett too.
I guess I'm
And Brett
an
too.
afterthought. That's
What's
that's
a
fun.
gelfling?
I don't know, but I'm still named.
I would say Google it, but I get
Why
nervous.
is everyone being so poetic right now? The super chats are like
I'm loving it.
Shakespearean today.
I love it. I think it's great.
All right, I want to talk about this article about.
Oh, I know it's from the Muppets. Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about this article about Martin Scorsese. This is an article from The Swaddle, which is not a site I have ever
It's an
seen before.
Indian publication.
Okay.
I didn't realize at first.
I'm not. I
Yeah,
can't
when you sent
say
this to
that-
me, I was like, Brett, are you sending me a parenting article?
Felt like that, right?
What do you mean?
So basically, the article says why Martin Scorsese's criticism of the Marvel franchise continues to be relevant. And I think this is a very, very good encapsulation of most of the critiques I have of where film is going. And she draws it into capitalism. She draws it into...
There were certain parts of the article that I didn't like, but most of it I find agreeable.
At the very least, I found it well-reasoned.
Yeah,
most
I did
of it.
too.
So it says, this year saw a slew of, there's that word slew that you were looking,
Slew.
yes, a slew of Marvel series and films come out, more than the studio's own 2 films a year strategy. Predictably, the release of Thor: Love and Thunder over the weekend was accompanied by Scorsese trending on Twitter, a reoccurring incident whenever a new Marvel release comes out. It has to do with the fact that 3 years ago, Scorsese weighed in on Marvel films as a phenomenon, opining that he doesn't consider them to be cinema in an op-ed for the New York Times. He went on to compare the movies with theme parks, suggesting that they offer entertainment value but are lacking in the depth that comes with making cinema what it is. I would say most of that is actually true. Like that general, if we were to make a general statement about it as a whole, I would say that part of it is true. His comments have since haunted Marvel fans in the studio itself. What does it mean for a great auteur director to dislike the biggest cultural behemoth in the film and television industry right now? Some have argued that Scorsese represents the old guard of filmmaking from a time that lacked diversity and told stories about the mafia, crime lords, and masculine violence that equally were spectacles unto themselves. What then is wrong with putting a cape on it?
Well, I think some of this like old guard critique, if they hadn't added the colon and been like diversity and mafia and crime lords, if they had said he's from an old guard of filmmaking that didn't have to compete, and I know she talks about streaming later in the article, but didn't have to compete with the timeline that streaming services like Netflix have turned on for basically generating tons of new content.
Yeah.
I would agree. I also think that when the film industry was not as established as it is today, I would imagine there are budget constraints, right? So he was
Absolutely.
from a day and age when he had to really go to producers or studios and be like, this movie is worth making.
Yeah.
Please give me this budget, And he has probably done that in a way that I'm not saying people who haven't worked on Marvel films haven't sort of had to advocate for their craft, but it's different when they are like, oh, we know it'll make money, so here have an enormous budget.
Marvel makes the money, not the director. Scorsese made the money for his films when they were produced. Like, if you were to ask me right now, who produced Scorsese's movies? Most people would be like, I have no freaking clue. They just know that he made them.
Mm-hmm.
Who made this Marvel movie? You're gonna say,
I cannot
have
tell
no
you the-
Yeah,
freaking-
and now Scorsese has earned his own namesake and doesn't need to pitch those things anymore. So then, like, later on, I understand why they're bringing up their critique that if you're, one of the old guard, everything that you do is given credibility, even if it doesn't deserve it.
So it says the debate has never been more relevant. We sit at the cusp of a paradigm shift in movies. Streaming platforms are one reason why, and the complete monopolization of the industry by Disney is another. These two factors have changed the model of filmmaking itself. One of Scorsese's main complaints is that we are now in an age of audience testing and playing it too safe, with no emotional danger, nothing unique or revelatory about the human experience. At the heart of the culture war, drawing the fault lines between Scorsese on one side and Marvel on the other, is the question of whether cinema and entertainment are fundamentally two different things. Marvel promises entertainment, and the box office tells us that makes for good business. But herein lies the catch. Entertainment is often driven by a profit incentive that dictates where stories can go, and indeed what stories are even told.
I think this author must listen to us, because I feel like in some ways this is exactly what Brett and I say every time. He's like, so this movie is making I know sequel is not even a term for it. It's making this 5th or 6th version of this movie, or like addition to the storyline. And I'm like, I am tired of this. We need to cut it off. And then he's like, but they make money. Like, that's essentially
that's not even rebuttal. That's just like a symptom of the problem.
Yeah.
Because all movie making has been profit driven, I think.
Unless you're like industry.
Unless you're like a student making a film. Like, it's profit driven. But because of that, there's a false dichotomy between entertainment and cinema.
And there is something to be said that a director like Scorsese, when he's deep into the process of filmmaking, isn't thinking about the profit as much as he's thinking about getting the movie made. The studio is thinking about the profit.
He shouldn't have to be the one thinking about that, though.
Yep. Do you want to hear my historical theory on this? Mm-hmm. I think because initially we started off with like plays and musicals that were performed on stage, and a lot of playwrights often have a background in like fictional writing or political writing.
Thank you.
It had a different function. And then as technology advanced and we started making movies for silent movies and then progressed onwards, our understanding of like bringing people into the theater or bringing people in changed. Yeah. And so I think like this old guard idea of like the art that you're creating should have some kind of deeper message or reflect on humanity comes from a different tradition of the entertainment industry.
And I don't even necessarily ascribe to that. I love stuff that doesn't necessarily have great, large cultural significance.
But you only say that because you hate things that try to teach you a lesson. Because the lessons are not, like, I don't know how to say this other than, like, the lessons aren't
good,
moral.
Yeah.
They're more so a one-sided lecturing than really getting on the level of the audience and speaking to them.
And she does, and she starts to, like, this is where it starts to go off the rails for me a little bit, when she says, on the other hand, many have pointed out how, unlike the films of Scorsese's generation, Marvel responds to calls for diversity, even if the jury is still out on how meaningful it is. Black Panther, for instance, was a contender for Best Picture Academy Award, and it is difficult to argue that it did not contain the elements that Scorsese outlined as being constitutive of cinema. I would argue that is wrong. Black Panther was no different than any other Marvel movie. Was it good? Yeah, it was fine. I think that Michael B. Jordan is one of the best actors of the current generation, and Chadwick Boseman certainly was. Rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. But both of them are fantastic actors, but that doesn't make that movie any more of a roller coaster theme park ride than the rest of the Marvel movies, just because of your political leanings. And I do believe that nomination was political in nature.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Ryan Coogler, the guy who directed it, is fantastic. That is not to say that he is not excellent at his Fruitvale Station. Excellent. Like, he's not a bad director. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's more to it than just what she's pointing out here. Am I misreading that, Mary?
I had difficulty interpreting what the author was saying
felt shoehorned
about diversity, because I thought that more so her point was that Marvel only knows how to make the same story about a different person,
which is a problem,
rather than a different story about maybe someone who looks the same as the last. Like, it's like she's saying that it's an accident that they are like switching out.
What I took it as, like, she's saying that Marvel is aware that people really advocate for representation or diverse representation in casting now, whereas in Scorsese's day and age, that wasn't really a conversation anyone was having, and if they were having it, it wasn't to the deafening level that we have it now.
In his time, that would be a distraction from
the art.
And I would argue now that like she is saying, like, this critique of their ability to portray diversity, I don't think actually goes with, I don't remember where she says it in here, but she's like, we're at a day and age where we need to better understand humanity and like each other. And like, I actually think personally that the obsession with representation and casting makes it harder for people to explore elements of humanity, because it becomes an obsession with sort of the identity on the physical outside, as opposed to like the emotional or psychological experience of like what you're going through, or like different situations. I think in some ways cinema, in the way that Scorsese is talking about, handled it more deftly than Marvel ever could.
Yes, and it will continue to be. Like I said, they're making Captain America 4 Anna Claire.
I don't even believe you.
With Sam Wilson as Captain America, when they could just make a movie about Falcon, which is the character Sam Wilson played before. Mm-hmm. But they don't want to take the time to try and sell a Falcon movie. Well, they think that the name Captain America is what sells, because they don't have any faith in Anthony Mackie or in the character of Sam Wilson, when they should. When he played Falcon in Captain America: Civil War and in Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah.
People loved him, and he's great as that character. He does not need to be new Captain America. Mm-hmm. He's fine as that character, but like you said, their pushes to do that means that they're inherently not going to take the risks because of which she draws into meaning capitalism later in the article.
Well, I would argue too that like they're saying we already invested this much in marketing and, you know, making spin-off shows and products for Captain America, so we need to continue to divert back to this thing that we've already invested in. Marvel movies and the crazy metaverses that I personally oppose are all born of basically the same thing, which is that these movies are part of a huge marketing, content creating web, and they're interdependent because they need to stay together. Whereas if you're Scorsese, like, Scorsese doesn't think Walmart's going to start making an action figure of all of his characters. He doesn't think there's going to be lunchboxes. He might sell some posters. He might get to speak at wherever, but like, you don't make those kinds of movies the way you expect people to interact with Marvel movies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but if you're going to actually make something that is like a milestone in culture that people remember for decades to come, you can't be thinking about like, what character can I write that is like easy to make into a toy.
I totally agree.
The brand, like, it's branding. Like I said, one of the best examples I have for that would be like behind me is the picture from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which is about they're literally animatronic turtles in the movie, and it is a more artistically done film than almost any of the Marvel movies, and evokes way more emotion than any of those movies do, because it was made at a time when, and at that time, toys, absolutely part of the deal. Mm-hmm. Marketing, absolutely part of the deal, but it was just a different time. They were doing it to sell the lunch boxes, the toys, the cartoons that came before and after.
Before it had the guarantee the way Marvel does now. I mean, if Marvel starts a movie, they know that it's either part of an already established 1,200 part series, or it's part of, you know, what will be the cornerstone of 6 or 7 or 8 movies and maybe a TV show and maybe this other thing. Like, there's already this relationship or this web that Marvel is built. Like, it doesn't need to take risks to be memorable. It doesn't need to have a conveying message, because it's going to succeed on some level anyways, and that's really all they need. They just need it to make money.
Caper2X in the super chat says, don't you think you're overthinking this? Sometimes people just want to have easily digestible, non-PC popcorn entertainment. They also make money. They're not wrong, but I do think that culturally these movies have become significant on a scale that's...
I don't think we're reading too much into it at all.
So also, sorry, Caper2X, like... this is just the way I am. Like, yeah. I totally get what you're saying.
I'm the same way.
I like think that there's a place for them, and that's why they are successful. But like, personally, I just stand opposed to them. I'm not interested in them, and I don't think that like they have enough support. They don't need me to be like, well, but okay. Like, I would rather have higher standards for art. I sympathize with Scorsese tremendously on this.
I love the Transformers movies. Those are not art. Those are just they're literally the opposite of art, and I love it, and that's fine.
Well, I guess there are artistic
Yes.
productions,
I'm
but
being
they're
hyperbolic.
not. But they're superficial by design, and I understand that there's a place for that. But you can't make that the dominant force in the entire industry because, Disney and Marvel, like, that's its own thing, but they're also leading the way for everyone else.
And everything is
And
going that direction.
I'm glad the author addressed the argument that people are saying, well, they actually have more in common with the old guard of filmmaking than you think because they're about, like, mafia, crime lords, and masculine violence. But, like,
sanitized masculine violence that
It's-
has no stakes.
right, exactly. And, like, I understand this is a callback to Goodfellas, but like Goodfellas is a story about like more than just the mafia, crime lords, and masculine violence.
Thank you.
I think that was the whole point of the article.
I do want to read these two paragraphs here because these were the ones that really got me for it. So it says, still, there's something to be said for how the franchise model of creating films and TV shows occupies space. Too much, almost to leave room for anything else. Marvel features are hugely successful in the box office, and many have created an emotional impact among a wide range of audiences. But in the bid to stay at the zenith of the cultural moment, the studio churns out more while offering less. The TV shows right now, like Miss Marvel, from what I understand, all filler, like almost entirely all filler. Thorius Unlimited does some really good reviews of that show that talks about just how little is actually there. The episodes are short, and it's just window dressing on something that's very, very basic. So it says,
and the review I heard from Tim actually is that it's just trying to be a history lesson
Thank
on partition.
Oh my
you.
gosh,
you.
it's happening now?
It's happening now.
It is.
Thank you, guys. So it says, many of the films feel factory-made, as a colleague pointed out, and it has to do with the fact that the model of production does, in fact, resemble a factory. In other words, Marvel is a result of what happens when capitalism meets cinema. It is palatable, repetitive, safe, and never subversive or risky the way art is sometimes called upon to be. The thing is, though,
I'm just gonna hold my coffee.
I'm never going to be able to talk through the. Thank you, guys. I'm never going to be able to talk through Hollywood is obsessed with subverting fan expectations, not subverting expectations for actually making good movies.
Well, I think they're obsessed with like subverting the expectation that everyone has for a story, which is like, for instance,
the hero's journey.
A hero's journey,
Is
like
dead.
anything archetypal, is now being just bulldozed, and it's at the expense of, making anything that could possibly like be entertaining and I'll say it again, edifying for the audience.
So it says. Okay. So to me, this is one of those things where I do think that in a way, I don't know if I buy the capitalism defense here, because I do think like a Rian Johnson making Star Wars, and I know that's not Marvel, but it is Disney, making a Star Wars movie that they knew audiences would hate. That they knew that the strong core fan base would hate. But the thing is Marvel has built their fan base up to be what it is, whereas Star Wars was basically taken by Disney and then abused, right? Marvel built it up its own way, whereas Disney just bought Lucasfilm and then turned it into what it is without paying much respect to what the actual source material was. So in that respect, the subverting expectations thing, I would find, like, when we watched Reacher, I said they subverted expectations by letting a masculine character be masculine and competent at his job without having to constantly be rescued and spoken down to by women, because that is the less common thing to have happen in that genre right now. Chris Pratt is your definable action star of the age right now, right? Like, and he's just kind of like a normal looking dude. He's not a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone. He's a regular looking dude. We have Jason Momoa, who's kind of like a bro. But to me, this is one of those things where they don't want to subvert expectations in a way that actually makes the audience happy. They want to say, like, we know what you want more than you do. Take what we give you and just accept it.
I mean, I don't really like the part of the article that says this is what happens when capitalism meets cinema, because, like, look at how Lightyear did,
Yep.
for instance. I don't think they understand what is palatable anymore because they're so disconnected from what audiences want.
When they get it right, it's by accident.
And also, like, I think it must be said that filmmaking is an extremely young art form in the grand scheme of things, compared to like theater, and it has always been profit driven because Hollywood has had such like a hold on it, like ever since the beginning. And like capitalism is not why Marvel is making crap movies.
I think one of the problems that I personally have with Marvel is like, if you love a certain Marvel movie, if it just is your go-to, like you're having a bad day, you want to watch a movie, you have some kind of emotional connection to it, that's totally fine. But I think that they skate by on knowing that people want to see these characters and not having to put a lot of effort into their ultimate development and plot. I think that movies that are more stripped away, movies that don't have the special effects, movies that don't have the CGI, movies that, you know, whether they're big budget or not, but really rely on evaluating behavior and, you know, psychological choices or conflict, that really have tensions that make you ask questions about yourself. They tend to really be more memorable. You know, you tend to relate to them more. I think these are flashes in the pan and they just get your attention while you can. And then while they're still on the cusp of your mind, they produce another one. So you're kind of distracted and you look over here and it's staying in their universe. But they're not asking you to be introspective in any way, because if they did, you'd have to take a position on certain issues. And I'm not even talking political issues, just like ideas of morality or right and wrong. And they can't do that because that would somehow isolate them from the audience.
We talked about how much Doctor Strange just didn't resonate with us because of how disconnected you feel because of the special effects. Literally disconnect you from the emotional stakes of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is, in a literal sense, the money being poured into the movie is making it less human.
Yep.
The more people involved in a project, the less personal it can possibly be for the people that consume it.
It reminds me of like statistics about how you can become addicted to looking at your screen. They say it's like the blue light, or whether you're just like looking for the dopamine hit when you scroll through Instagram or whatever it is, you find yourself always wanting to look at the screen. And in some ways, I feel like Marvel is using that to a certain extent. Like, you want to go to the movies, but you don't really want there to be more than it is. Like, you just kind of want to
I don't want to be like visually assaulted or like
you don't want to
have all of my senses just
you don't want to be, but you're a very like
overloaded.
intelligent like person who likes to engage with the material that's in front of them. Whereas I think Marvel wants to create a customer base that is like so overwhelmed sensorially, like by the light, by the characters, by the noise, by the fact that the plot doesn't really make sense. You're constantly trying to figure it out, and then there's a meteor, and then this blows up, and then there's some music, and now it's nostalgic, and now there's on a ship, like just all this stuff. And ultimately you walk out being like, whoa, I was just doing something else for 2 hours. They feel like checked out the way when you binge Netflix for 8 hours.
If you look at the audience score for Thor Love and Thunder, then that tells you all you need to know. Mm-hmm. And it's disappointing that people don't want something better.
Yep. It's funny. I was thinking about the movies we've seen since we've started this whole endeavor. Yeah. And I remember more from Father Stu, and I remember more from Top Gun Maverick than I do from any of the other movies that we've seen. In Top Gun Maverick, remember, there's almost no CGI. Those were actual camera shots, and that was done to supplement the emotional stakes that accompany the rest of the movie. But I remember feeling more emotionally from Father Stu.
There was so much involved in just looking at their faces. It's so much more visually interesting.
It's like they tried to do that with
evocative.
Kenobi.
And can I just say, those are both things that happen in the real world, in real places. They happen in America, like maybe not exactly where either one of you grew up or like a lifestyle either one of you have lived, but like it's not an alien that's wandering through or like some half being. Like, we're seeing real people, and our brains are trained to understand and look for emotion, look for ourselves in real people, not whatever the tree thing is from that one movie, who is adorable. Like, I get why people get excited about it, right? But
I just see that stuff and all I think of is toy.
I don't think that like visual effects and meaning are mutually exclusive at all, but they've made it such an extreme that like they've pushed it to that point, and Marvel is like truly the tastemaker now.
Look at the first Independence Day, the movie Independence Day, which has literally had some of the special effects of that movie still hold up to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I remember more than anything in that movie was the dog being saved from the fire as it jumps into the door, which made no sense geographically because it felt like the fire should just go in the door too. And I remember President Whitmore's speech at the end to all the people because it's the greatest presidential speech ever given in a movie. Has nothing to do with computer-generated imagery. Has nothing to do with anything with the aliens that are going on there. It's the human emotion that's evoked from what he says.
And visual effects are supposed to be something that complement the foundation of a good story. Not making like the meat of the whole production. Like, even if you think about Pixar movies, the reason that they animate characters the way they do and design the characters with faces that have like big eyes and just a certain face shape is so that it's easier to express the emotions on their face.
There's side-by-side images of the Lion King live action of the remake and then the original, and you realize how soulless and dead the remake is because there's literally like if you watch the scene where he falls off the cliff, you just laugh because it's like it's hilarious.
So obviously you can use visual effects and animation to be like the instrument in a good story, but it starts with writing a good story.
Right. And I think they're not doing that. I think they hear this is the budget and they're like, oh, I bet we could blow up 3 cars in this one.
Yeah, and I hate that like people just eat it right up.
Yeah, the line in the Swaddle article that stuck with me after I read it was, we're living in a time when we need to understand ourselves, our communities, and what it would take for humanity to survive. But I never see the humanity I live in represented in a Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. And so why would I watch it as a theoretical look for guidance? And that should tell you that like Marvel doesn't care about that. Marvel wants to put you in suspended animation. They want to distract you for a couple hours and make it so you feel like at the end of it you were checked out from the stresses of your real life. That makes you want to go back and do it again. But there's no plot there. They're not advancing your understanding of the world or your emotional state. They are actually doing the opposite of what this person thinks that they are doing,
or what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And I don't think it's like because Marvel is evil.
No,
I just think they're like, look, people come back when we do this. So let's continue to not think about plot and to put another alien in that.
They've got their formula. They've got what works. So let's do Super Chats.
Yeah. Dragon's Talon 1001 said, I wouldn't say the movie companies aren't playing it safe. They are playing it politically correct and bombing.
Yeah, I mean, depending on like with Thor: Love and Thunder, or a lot of these things, it's the advertising that screws them, where they advertise it as if they're making this great political statement.
It's not politically incorrect or correct. It's just like absurdity.
Like I would argue that if nobody had ever talked about how super gay Thor: Love and Thunder was, nobody would have noticed it because it would have been just it would have just been a hint of just whatever the story was. Nobody would have cared, but because Natalie Portman has to come out and be like, yeah, it's super gay, and Taika Waititi's like, we're all a little queer, and everyone's like, what do you nobody cared, dude, just make your movie.
But they're making the freaking rocks gay.
Yes.
Yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder was like a little too much there, but like to another extent, like they would slip these things in that had nothing to do with any character development or plot.
Yeah.
Which they deliberated about, and that makes it so much more annoying.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to make it this flyover like moment.
Yeah.
It's like completely unnatural and inserted and like where it doesn't belong.
Yep.
It just seems very strange.
James Orenthal Guy, how do you say that?
Win, right?
I have no idea.
NGY Nguyen, I think. I can't say it, I'm sorry.
Used to film Godfather 1 and 2 are laughably dated, and they're arguably better than anything filmed since because of the story writing substance.
Yep. Oh yeah. The most movies, you will find yourself more emotionally connected to movies prior to 1999 than you will just about anything that came out once CGI started to become more heavily incorporated in what you're watching. I was watching it's from 2006. A movie called Lucky Number 11 the other day with Josh Hartnett and Bruce Willis and Morgan Freeman. And just the way the sets are designed, it's got this really unique set design style and the way they used the camera optics to film them to give them this really, really distorted look. Thank you. I got more emotional connection out of that because it brought me into the world of what I'm watching than any type of computer-generated imagery could have done. Like, I haven't even gotten to the story of it yet, but just the story they told visually in camera did more to connect me. I've been rewatching Dexter. What they use with colors, the color palette of Dexter connects you to Miami, even though most of it was done in California. You connect more with the color palette and tone that is done visually than you do than if they had added 1,000 layers of computer generated imagery to give you something that you're supposed to feel artificially.
I think, like, in terms of art history, filmmaking is going to be like exceptional in like the speed with which it degraded. Like, from the beginning until now, it's been 100 years.
I think about it as like when you look at marketing stuff and they're like red and yellow make people want to eat more, so it's no surprise that McDonald's chose them as their color. Ooh. And similarly, I think that there is going to ultimately be, and I wouldn't be surprised if there already is, for production houses, companies to be like, look, we know that like we could pay a team of story writers come up with a good plot, but we also know that if we make the colors this kind of saturation, and if we make it about this length, and if we use this kind of like rhythm or whatever else, people will stay for the whole movie, and that's good enough for us. Like at some point, they aren't called to do. They have no responsibility for creating a plot line or story or something that's evocative to the human condition, because that's not really what they're doing. They're producing a piece of visual medium that makes people stay and return.
Imagine if watch time were part of the
oh my God,
the business model,
but like
for movie making.
With YouTube, it's like ad revenue. Like they want people to stay for as long as they possibly can,
which makes it more like meritocratic on YouTube than anything.
If
they only need you in a movie theater to buy the ticket,
Yeah.
and they only need you on Amazon to hit rent or hit buy. You don't need to finish watching it.
It does not matter to them if you finish watching it. In some ways, if like people would get, like, you pay for your ticket, right? How much is a movie ticket? $15?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever.
But if they say like, okay, if you stay for the whole thing, you know, you don't get any money back. But if you don't like it, at this point you'll get $10 back. At this point you'll get $5 back. Like people would be sitting there like, do I really want to watch this? Yeah. That's like how it works. I mean, that's why YouTube content creators in some ways are striving to be like, I've got something to tell you, but it's at the last 30 seconds of my video. Like, they don't want you to skip ahead because they want you to watch their ads.
Especially because, like, Brett, you always say, like, you are the person who will just turn something off or walk out of a theater if you're done with it.
But it actually doesn't matter if you do that. I mean, you save your own sanity, and I
don't think I walk out of a theater, but like, if it's TV, if they don't hook me in the first 10 minutes,
and I think
I'm out.
that should matter to them. Anyway, Goofer Trooper said, where did all the B movies from the 70s to 90s go? Why hasn't there been an Evil Dead of the 2000s?
We had to ask for the Evil Dead, the TV show.
Caper2X said, don't you think you're... Oh, you already read that one.
Yep.
Dragon's Talon said, they now have to use a checklist in who to hire instead of hiring the very best actors for the project.
Yeah, there's...
Not always, but...
But that does happen.
That's...
And I also think when they're selecting stories, therefore, like what movies to produce, they're thinking, someone in the room is thinking, well, we got pitched 2 storylines, but this one we could add a more diverse cast. So let's go with that one because that's better for us.
Yeah.
You know, at the expense of like, but that plot is better. But it requires like an all Hungarian cast, let's say, or like whatever.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I know this is like hella trite, but it's like control of the media akin to like fascist regimes.
Yep.
Maverick Pilgrim said Disney once had the Hollywood social nostalgia capital to drive an ideology and narrative as a platform for Bob Iger to run for political office.
Yep.
That capital is spent now. No more money guaranteed.
Yep, that became really clear to me when the first time somebody pointed out that Iger wanted to run for president. It made far more sense to me, given how quickly they moved their platform going that direction. And he's old. He's in his 70s. I thought he was like 50. That guy's got great plastic surgeons.
Joe Biden's older than he is.
That is true.
Caper2X said, so movie critics love and the audience hates? Which one exactly?
Yeah. What I found is that the stuff that the more interesting stuff is the stuff that's kind of uniform. Like if it gets a high audience and high critic score, I'm more interested in that than I am by the stuff where it's high audience and or low critic and high, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I knew I was gonna like The Terminalist because the critics hated it, but that's not super interesting to me. I just know I'm going to enjoy it and have a decent time watching it. But it's the stuff like Top Gun Maverick, which got fairly high scores across the board. And there's other ones I can't think of all the examples off the top of my head. But there was some stuff we talked about this year where they had high enough critic and audience scores where I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like that doesn't happen very often.
I knew it'd be cool to live in a world where like you didn't have to be like, oh, the critics are saying this, so I've got to weigh it with a grain of salt. Like if you like, I know there are some people who review movies and stuff that Brett really does like trust and sort of like he has learned over time that when they like a movie, they have similar interests.
Yeah. Also, the less culturally relevant it is, the more you can trust the critics because they're more biased against stuff that they feel has more cultural relevance. Marvel stuff gets that way because they know of the place Marvel holds or the place DC holds in the entertainment zeitgeist. So if it's some random thing you're watching on Amazon or some random show on Netflix, you can probably trust that more if you know that nobody else is really talking about it.
Yeah.
So.
Bad App said Money Shot.
Yep.
Thank you if you were the one who gave us a crisis party.
Oh. Guys have so much jargon every time I come on. I love it. I'm going to make myself a pop culture Tana Claire dictionary.
We are building culture.
Literally.
I want to be out in the world and someone will be like, use one of these terms. Except there are actual terms people use, so I guess it's not.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear anyone say money shot to you in the real world.
Yeah, that's why when
Money
you said
Shot
heroes.
from iDubbbz doing his fan mail videos back in the Disney. Dragon's Talent said, if Marvel wants to become relevant again, then they need to get out of the liberal hive mind bubble of Hollyweird.
I would love for them to make just like a weird, like if they made the Punisher like super get maybe not Chris Pratt because he just did the term. Get the guy from Reacher to do the Punisher. And just make it ultra like weirdly like right wing, and just start catering to that market as well. If this is really about capitalism, then fill all your markets.
There's totally a market for it, but I think that there are so many ideologues.
Yep. And I love John Bernthal as the Punisher. So I'm not even saying that was necessarily bad, but that's like I have no faith that that's going to. I don't know if he's going to be. I know Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are both coming back as Daredevil and Kingpin for the Echo TV series, but I don't really care much. And they're also bringing back Jessica Jones for Disney Plus. But like I said, that stuff was interesting to me when it was on Netflix. It's not really interesting to me now that it's Disney Plus.
Johnny Beck sent us a thumbs up.
Thank you.
This isn't a super chat, but someone said Thor Love and Thunder was super over the top heavy gay, like gayness as parody. I don't agree with that, but
I thought it was pretty heavy. Like it was definitely more than I was expecting.
It was heavy in the sense that they were trying to do it like a drive-by moment that
with like several different
wasn't
characters.
Involving the main characters and wasn't actually part of the plot. So it did feel very like fabricated and like forced in there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's like as gay as Natalie Portman was saying it was. Nathan Koss said the overuse of CGI can be chalked up to the fact that Marvel has no good actors. When actors can't emote, just fill in the space with CGI.
I think they hire Christian Bale, they have Robert Downey Jr., they have Tom Holland, who is a good actor, good enough. There's good actors there, but it's just the fact that the business model, the production model doesn't call for that to be used.
What was the other? Was it Jurassic World Park, whichever one with the dinosaurs?
Yes.
I remember watching that movie, and because we reviewed it for this show, and I remember coming back and being like, there are a lot of talented actors in this and actresses in this movie, but I feel like they were given too little to work with.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you. Like, I think there are probably some people who are cast just because and they're not particularly good, but a lot of the time, I do think you do a disservice to the actors by giving them scripts that have no plot and have no development. Like, they aren't supposed to ad-lib everything, and also, like, why not? If you're paying this much for talent, why not give them something to really work with?
Yep. Because their name drives business. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry to read another one that's not a super chat, but it made me laugh. Someone said, yeah, everyone brought they dictionary since Hannah Claire is on today. I just thought it was funny that he said they dictionary.
I love it. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Goofer Trooper said, Taika Waititi needs to go back to making movies like Hunt for the Wilder People.
Or Jojo
Is it Wilder
Rabbit.
People or
Wilder
Wilder?
People. Wilder People, I believe.
Wilder People. Jonathan Harris said, most movies, I'm not looking for an emotional connection. Most movies are detached from reality, and paying $20 to see this dystopia doesn't sound good.
I am over the dystopian genre as a whole. Like, if I didn't have to see one more movie that has
It
to
had
do
a
with
big resurgence in like the
2020.
early 2010s.
Divergent and
I think so. And then I think it kind of started to die, and then like we had COVID, and people were like, "It's
Oh,
coming!
no. Yeah.
Let us prepare."
Yeah.
Thank you.
But like, look, there are a lot of really wonderful dystopian surrealist novels. Dare I suggest we read a book on the Pop Culture Podcast?
Hey,
Let me be
hey.
crazy here.
Don't put me out of business here.
But the thing is, like, really good dystopian literature, in my opinion, and someone can agree with me. What is happening?
We're going to have a very hard time getting to topic 3
This
today.
is a lot.
I'll stop after this.
We
but
could
like,
save it if you want.
We'll keep going.
all I was gonna say was like, one of the things is like you can do stuff in books that call on the reader's imagination that then when you have to transfer them to film must be really expensive and not make sense.
Yeah.
And so like some mediums for messaging don't all work equally is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like maybe let's leave dystopian behind. Maybe let's leave some superheroes behind. Let the comic books have them for a bit.
How about
I don't know.
dystopian superheroes?
Isn't that basically what they all are
Yeah.
now? Our planet is being murdered by murder butcher god.
When is the Captain
Whatever.
Planet movie coming out? With all the climate hysteria, we need Captain
That one's
Planet.
too overt. They know they got caught with their political messaging.
Mary Diaz said, review Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Also, The Blob.
Okay.
What's The Blob? That sounds...
It's not like an old movie that's like about a gelatinous form.
I don't know.
Flubber. Remember Flubber?
No, The
Robin
Blob is like
Williams?
an old horror movie.
Dragon's Talon said, I want a movie where all of the actors' lines are just, I am Groot. LOL.
Groot is
I mean,
getting a
at
show.
this point, it might be better than the Thor Love and Thunder
Okay,
script.
that's true. Did you guys watch Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Yes.
Okay, do you know that game that they would play where everyone, like, there would be one person, they'd get a scene, and one person could talk freely, but the other two would get, like, 2 lines that they were allowed to say, and so they'd have to, like, put a lot of inflection into what they're doing.
Yeah.
It is some of the funniest performing I've ever seen, and you really do see what they're doing. Like, I think that, like, there are scripts that are limiting that are funny, but then there are scripts that are limiting that, like, just handcuff the actors. I don't know.
Hobbit said, back in the 90s, Barnes & Noble did a poll of the best book of the 20th century. Lord of the Rings won easily. I would love to know what the other contenders were. Critics were furiously asking how people could like that trash. I hope that that's not true.
Critics, as usual, suck.
Joseph said, art, in my opinion, should be profound and speak to the human experience in some way. Not this steaming garbage pile. # not art.
I think there's a place for all of it. Like I said,
Brett's nicer than I am.
It's art. It's just bad.
I don't have a problem with the Marvel properties. I have questions about what it means culturally for the art form of film as a whole, but I don't think all of it needs to. Like I said, I can watch The Godfather, I can watch Transformers, I can watch any of these movies, actually I've never seen... I don't think I ever saw Citizen Kane, but I think I'm supposed to. I'm not.
I think I'm supposed to.
I think I'm supposed to have seen Citizen Kane, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, there is a place for all of it, but it's just a matter of finding your audience. And like Mary said earlier, it is still a capitalistic endeavor that making it come second to actually turning a profit for the people who invested in the project for them, those that making it. If not, watch fan films. Like that is a great place if you love genre properties. The fan-made films are oftentimes more organic and have more emotion because there isn't the budget there.
Yeah.
There's a Spider-Man Spider-Man Lotus is coming out. All of the Batman fan films, in my opinion, are fantastic. Just that's stuff to look for. I've heard the Star Wars ones are okay. I think Andrew said he didn't like them, but I've heard some people say that some of those are actually fairly good. But I think if you're looking for an emotional connection to source material, check out some of the fan films that don't have the budgets that the bigger budget properties do.
Look, all I would say to you, there's a place for all of them. I like dessert. I like ice cream. I like sugar. But I don't need to gorge myself on it and give myself diabetes.
For every meal.
I don't need to give myself tooth rot. Like, this is the equivalent of what we're consuming as a culture. And I just think that, like, we should reconsider our diet. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Hobbit said 4 more polls across the world show Lord of the Rings won the popular vote. When I read that, I learned then to never trust the quote-unquote experts.
Experts.
Yeah, so true. Gopher Trooper said, what are some Hannah Claire approved movies?
I had
Approved. Not enthusiastic, go watch it, but just you approve.
Oh my gosh. I hate to be the downer on this. I love, like, to each their own, right? I haven't seen a ton of movies. I loved Captain Commander growing up. I liked Almost Famous. One of my favorite movies of all time was with Heath Ledger, A Knight's Tale. That was a classic. I have a really hard time sitting still for movies, so I have not seen as many as Brett has, and I feel like I should not give you recommendations.
No one has seen as many as Brett
I
has.
did not like, what's that one? Maude and What's-His-Face? It's like a old-timey classic, but like, Rear Window is one of my favorite movies.
Yep.
I just like movies that make me feel a little bit tense and then make me walk away thinking about things. But that's just not every movie. I get that.
Dill said, check out Oscar Wilde's preface to the picture of Dorian Gray. He has an interesting take on art.
Yes.
Yes?
Very good. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Hannah Claire approved. Caper2X said,
What's Hannah Claire's approved movies? Books.
perfect.
But I really was not allowed to watch that much TV or movies when I was growing up. So I feel like I'm actually like, I need my older brother to get in here because he was
fair
much
enough.
better at this.
Caper2X said, you're a heathen, Brett. Make mine Marvel. Down with DC.
DC all the
Thumbs
way
down
for me,
from
but
Brett.
that's just my personal opinion.
Bad App said, make Tim get this nerd Hannah her own book review show. And at Mary, you're fleek AF, referring to my black
Is that the
nails.
same thing as On
look
Fleek?
great. On
On
fleek?
fleek?
I was just thinking about this because, like, it was a very 2016 thing to say on fleek. But, like, let's bring it back. Why not?
Speaking of
Mary has the best nails. I always love them.
Thank you.
speaking of 2016 or years not current, let's talk about Panic at the Disco. And do you want to read this headline, Mary?
Sure, because I wrote it.
Because you
after all.
wrote it.
Twitter stands mass block Brendan Urie due to resurfaced clips of problematic comments. The
I love
Panic at the
this picture,
Disco
team.
artist got branded as the Chris Pratt of the music industry. I very deliberately picked this image of him.
I love it.
It's like he's looking at the Twitter trending page and he's like, oof.
He looks like
Chris Pratt, do you say?
he looks weirdly like Andrew Garfield right there.
Yeah, kind of. So let me break down what people are mad about. I saw his name trending with,
By the
like,
way, if people are sick of like the intellectual discussion of movies, we're about to
Drama!
get
Drama! I
Mary
love
loves
drama.
drama.
I can't get enough of
Whenever
it.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on the show. They're like, yeah, when you're on the show, it's like more analytical. And I'm like, are you trying to tell me you have less fun when I'm on?
Let's get stupid on Pop Culture Crisis. I love drama.
Let's do it.
So, I saw just hundreds of tweets where people came up with innocuous reasons that they blocked Brendan Urie on Twitter.
From Panic at the Disco.
Yes,
Okay.
from Panic at the Disco. If you weren't aware, I know a lot of people in the audience maybe weren't, emo.
Wait, you emo?
But they had some really big
Imagine
hits.
my
They
show.
were
They
like,
did, yeah.
I was gonna say, even though not emo kids,
But
know
maybe
who
a lot of
this is.
people don't know that Brendan Urie is behind
I respect.
the act name. So they were saying, like, gas prices are high, so I'm blocking Brendan Urie on Twitter. Or, like, I'm struggling with my mental
Thanks,
health,
Brendan Urie.
so I'm blocking Brendan Urie on Twitter. Or,
Makes
like,
perfect
just
sense.
random things that they were upset about. Like,
The grocery store is still
I
not of my
overcooked
favorite
my
ice cream.
pasta.
Blocking
I'm
Brendan.
blocking Brendan Urie on Twitter. He's somehow responsible for this. So I digged into the real reasons that people were mad at Brendan Urie. And it turns out, first of all, they're rehashing the beef he had with a former member of Panic at the Disco. It used to be a 4-person act. Ryan Ross is generally credited with the songwriting genius
There it is.
that gave them the huge success they had in
Thank
the
you.
2000s. Thank you. And people have always kind of resented the fact that Brendan Urie kept the name of Panic at the Disco as a solo artist rather than going on his own to, you know, make a name for himself in his own work. So they think that he really didn't have anything to do with the artistic merits of like A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, which is their first, like their early work that they credit Ryan Ross for. So that was the first thing that they were rehashing, which I think is actually valid.
Okay.
Because
I do too. He should have just gone under his own name or picked something else.
right, they're saying, I found this tweet that they said, I've genuinely sleeved over him getting credit for Panic's entire discography by piggybacking on the band's name because I know he wouldn't be nearly as successful if he went by his own name.
I love Noel Gallagher from Oasis outside of Oasis. Just
Yeah.
as an aside.
Well, I also think being like, this is a Panic at the Disco album, but actually it's just me, Brendan Urie. Like, kind of, it's like false advertising.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, people unfairly credit frontmen with
Everything.
all of the success when it seems like he kind of built his career on the foundation of someone else's work. Now, it's not to say he's like not a good singer or songwriter. I think that since he's been a solo act, there have been some good songs, and he's actually had like more commercial success making just straight up pop songs. I don't like them, but like some people do. I thought that criticism though was fair, but then the other stuff that they were rehashing is basically every problematic quote unquote statement that Brendan Urie has ever made in his entire public career.
Yeah.
And I looked at a thread that listed all of them, and I looked at the video evidence of every single thing that he said.
She has done her research, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me just list. The accusations against him include, but are not limited to, fetishizing bisexual women by calling them bar-sexual, implying that they are only gay when drinking. Telling the crowd at one of his
There it is.
second crisis party, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today is such a good day for super chats. Thank you so
Guys,
much,
I'm telling you, you fixed the vibes. This is
Thank you guys so much. You have no idea how much it means.
Telling the crowd at one of his concerts that he wishes he had been born black. Joking on stage about
That cup.
SAing concert goers after a show.
Woo!
Using a
Keep going.
using a slur for transgender people. I'm sorry, like the tone shift. Using a slur for transgender people during an interview, and saying a racial slur while lip syncing to rap songs, which you can guess which slur
get you.
that was.
That will get you every time.
Every
They
time.
get you every time.
And he did it, I think, like a few different times, but it was like on live stream because he was like a live streamer for a while on Twitch.
Yes.
Never
Brendan
good.
Urie is like, I am staying relevant.
Yeah.
You cannot stop me, Mary.
So like, I don't know if we can actually, I hyperlinked all of the videos if we wanted to like look at one of them, but they probably are not YouTube friendly. But I'll just say, like, my impression is all of this is kind of overblown.
Just a little bit.
I don't really care about, like, what groups he was offending with his like, relatively innocuous comments,
His free
especially, like,
speech.
the bar-sexual thing.
See,
like, that's so stupid.
But do you think Chris Pratt is like, they're calling him for what? Excuse me?
Yeah.
Chris Pratt's like, why are you bringing me into this? I thought you were going to tell me that Brendan Urie is like actually secretly a Christian and owned a farm. Like,
No, nothing like that. Because he's not even as cool as Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt is like, I disavow this criticism.
Yeah, like Brendan Urie, from what I've seen at least, has kind of courted an audience that celebrates woke stuff for a long time. So it only makes sense that he would get, cornered.
Do you think
by
he
the
identifies
same
as a
people.
male feminist?
Probably.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
yeah, most definitely.
That will get you every
Most
single
definitely,
time.
yeah.
Immediate red flag.
So I found a tweet that said he was the Chris Pratt of the music industry, and I just had to lead with that. But
that
it's
mean
not
he's-
because
Did
of
the
what it
tweet-
sounds like.
Did the tweet explain like why they had specifically targeted
The internet hates
No.
him, and the internet hates Chris Pratt.
Yeah, exactly. I said Not only because he lost balance on the tightrope of political correctness, which is so easy to do, but also the instantaneity of his fall from favor.
Mary was also very happy about the word
I
instantaneity.
love it.
It's
I
a
love
good
it.
word.
And a reply to that tweet said, everyone loved him until one day they didn't. Would you guys say that's true of Chris Pratt?
No, people still like him. Hollywood is like, do you remember that time? And everyone's like, yeah, but he's so nice. And he's got the cute kids. And he's in that one movie I like. They're like, no, but we hate him. And they're like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's mostly Hollywood that dislikes Chris Pratt.
No, it's Twitter that hates Chris Pratt, not
but
Hollywood.
Twitter isn't real.
But I'm saying that's where it is.
I guess,
it's
like,
real.
If
Twitter
you were talking about
weirdos-
Brendan Urie too, only Twitter hates him.
Weirdos are who hate these people, and they're not real people. It's
Yeah.
the dead internet.
I feel like this is a weird. I mean, I do feel like Chris Pratt must be like, what's happening?
Why am I always getting
It's
blamed
like being
for
like
everything?
he's like the Chris Pratt of the music industry, who's like the Donald Trump of Hollywood. Like, what are you talking about? I don't understand any of this.
Yeah.
You're just saying divisive
It's just
names
a Mad
plus some
Libs
sort of
at
like,
that point. But and because Twitter is not real, I of course like address the speculation that bot accounts run Twitter trending anyways. So who knows if anyone actually has a problem with Brendan Urie?
Has Brendan Urie responded?
No, not as of yet.
I hope he is not stupid enough to be like, I'm gonna make a public comment on this.
I think he does know better, because although he has apologized for some of these things in the past, I didn't
said
see
apology like 90 times. In
Oh,
that,
yeah, yeah, like,
he
I
did an
found,
apology where he literally says the word apologize like 57 times.
But does he say I'm sorry? Or just
no,
say
it's I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's like literally him. It's like if there was a video of an actual knee breaking from bending so much. It's this video. It's
Yeah,
really
which is
bad.
why I don't like sympathize exactly. I just felt like pointing out the absurdity of it.
I think this moment he engages with this at all, he makes it legitimate, and he's gonna like never, ever, 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 ever be able to get over this for the next at least 3 years.
That is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, the clip that he was apologizing about was the saying the slur for transgender people. All the other stuff, I never saw him apologize for. So I think he may.
He stands
know
by
better.
wanting to be born black.
Yeah, I mean, that clip, if anything, was him just like being cringy and like beating himself up for being white on stage. Like he was like, please don't make fun of me because I'm a lame white guy who's like wearing this outfit that like, why am I even wearing this? Like, I'm so white.
Rihanna hasn't. Oh, sorry, Rihanna. It's Rihanna.
Rihanna.
It's not Rihanna. Rihanna has.
When?
It's always been Rihanna. Hasn't released an album in 6 years, so I blocked Brendan Urie. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that stuff.
That's
like,
my favorite.
just come up with your personal reason today to block Brendan Urie on Twitter.
Our second segment went 40 minutes, so I'm blocking Brendan Urie.
Oh no! Oh no!
That's what I'm saying.
Look, when you guys show out in the super chats,
It's the best part.
Yeah.
Screw
we
Brendan.
can't
I'd
just
honestly
not
rather have
read
fewer
'em.
segments and have more interaction with everybody.
Exactly, dude. It's way
Yeah,
more-
thank you.
Like a lot of times, I'm worried that we're not gonna like have enough to talk about in a lot of this stuff. But then people always make it more fun when they interact.
Yeah.
And like, like a lot of those opinions, like they share things that I never would have thought about or brought up. I love it. It's my favorite part.
Let me read some super chats.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Dragon's Talon sent us a gif of a pair lifting weights saying, keep it up. Well, thank you. That's
Thank
very
you.
cute.
That's great.
Jonathan Harris said, another point, I didn't see 6 Jurassic Parks for the plot. I saw the first one because it was interesting and the other 5 because dinosaurs. If another company made a dinosaur movie, I'd watch that too.
Amen.
I mean, yeah, I understand, you know, there's a place for superficiality and dinosaurs and action scenes.
But wouldn't it be cool if another another studio made a dinosaur movie instead of having the same thing keep happening?
Unfortunately, the creators of Jurassic World Dominion did try to put forth a message in that movie. Not
Convoluted and bad, but yeah, they
it
tried.
was like I hated it. I hated the message, but they
Well,
were.
I don't even care much about. I just thought it was convoluted and poorly delivered.
I disliked the philosophy of science
Yeah,
the point they were trying to make. Goofer Trooper said drama, very pog, much groove. I love pogging at drama. Dragon's Talon said Brett doing quote unquote looks like an angry T-Rex that can't scratch their itch. LOL. I love that.
Boom, we're roasted.
It's literally just how anyone does quote unquote though. Like it's anyone doing scare quotes.
There's something about Brett doing stuff that just makes it so much better.
If it's Brett, they're gonna bully him. It's so unfair.
You have like sort of mean fans, I guess, or mean listeners.
Yeah, Mary said that earlier. She's like, yeah, it's like, yeah.
That app said, Mary, write an article about Tillian from Dance Gavin Dance getting canceled. Money shot. Read the second Crisis Party donation as well. That would be awesome. Thank you. I didn't know that Tillian got canceled.
We should go for a third Crisis
Party. But that's
Party
like
right
really interesting because, you know, like as the replacement for Johnny Craig, like how can you go wrong?
Yeah.
She's saying so many words that I don't understand.
So I know like
Carter
way
would be
too
the
much
to...
lore. Like me and Carter both know.
Oh, I bet.
Like lore of like all the Warped Tour bands.
Yep.
Like obsessively.
I used to go to Warped Tour. I was obsessed with it, but like
that.
I guess
I
this is
literally
just, like,
can't
literally
picture that.
before my time.
I'm
no,
gonna
they just stopped
actually.
having it recently.
I'm gonna call that fake news. I don't think that's real. I don't think you at that's not a real thing.
No, I was like, look, the thing is, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup, and I like didn't look the part, but in my soul, I was like, Warped Tour is the coolest thing ever.
Wow.
And it was cool.
You do wear
I'll
Vans,
see if I can
so.
find you.
What years
my,
did
like,
you go to?
I went.
I love this.
She does wear Vans, so
I think I went the summer of 2009, the summer of 2008, summer of 2007. And maybe one more, but I can't remember.
Wow.
And I had a childhood friend who would come with me. My stepmom would drop us off, and then we'd go. Like one year, my brother and his girlfriend took us, and cause we were still pretty young. And
I was about to say, like, I was like 3 years out of high school in 2000. I feel so.
I
old.
wasn't in high school at that point, but I remember when Warped Tour announced that they were doing their last tour ever. It was like a couple of years ago, and I don't remember who, but we haven't, we drifted apart. These things happen, but no ill feelings. And one of us messaged the other one, was like, "Can you believe Warped Tour is coming to an end?" Because we were like so into it. Anyways, yeah.
There's one more there.
Caper2X said, Mary versus Brett Cooper, best. I think you mean PCC. Changed my mind. We would love to have her on, obviously.
I once got a message from Andy here when they were in Austin, or when they were in Nashville.
Okay.
And he says, he's like, if you married Brett Cooper, her name would be Brett Dasovic.
Brett Dasovic.
I think that's a great
Unless
idea.
you take Cooper as your last
Sorry,
name.
that's
then there will be two Brett
Or
Coopers.
she could hyphenate, I suppose.
She'd be
Cooper
Dasovic.
Dasovic Cooper.
One of the two.
You could make her move Cooper to her middle name, so she'd always be Brett Cooper, but she'd be Brett Cooper Dasovic.
Don't scare her off, Brett.
Perfect. Let's move on. Do you want to do Podluck?
I love setting Brett up with people. We should do this more often.
Are you sure we should do Podluck?
Let's do
I don't want to
Podluck.
go like OD, but
we're gonna.
I
do
won't
it.
talk that much, I promise.
So it says we're gonna run through the Elon Musk one first because I sent this article to Hannah Claire.
I sent it to you this morning.
No, I'm starting with the Meghan McCain one.
Oh, okay.
Meghan McCain calls out Elon Musk and Nick Cannon for their impregnate the planet mentality. Dystopian, she calls
mentality.
it. I do like the idea that Hannah Claire responds with, "Never in my life have I ever thought about the phrase. I wonder what Meghan McCain is thinking."
Yeah, there's never been a news article where I've been like, what does Meghan McCain think about this? Including this. I also thought it was weird when Nick Cannon responded to Musk and was like, "Me too, like surprise, I have twins as well." Like, I think you guys are doing it for different reasons, but like, okay.
So it says this impregnate the planet mentality is creepy and comes off like the actions of a cult leader more than an altruistic person who wants to expand their family and save the planet, McCain wrote for the outlet. Elon is the wealthiest man on the planet. He certainly can largely do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants, but don't for a minute think that ordinary Americans relate to this at all. Well, nobody's relating to Elon for that. They're relating to Elon for the memes. Nobody gives a crap about Elon, about his family. They care about the memes. And
to be fair to Meghan McCain, I wouldn't disagree that Elon Musk's like drive to like do like this mass breeding campaign is dystopian only because he's not in a monogamous relationship. He's kind of treating these mothers of his children like they are his like concubines or incubators.
I think it's like a weird science
kind.
experiment. Like
I
think
don't
he's
like it.
I think he is like selecting different enough, but they're all pretty highly educated women, or at least like affluent or have some kind of like whatever in some way. They're elite in some way, and mixing his genes with them and seeing like which kids are going to turn out to be the most interesting or successful. Like I stand by
that is dystopian. I'm
it's
not
super
gonna
dystopian. The National Post in Canada ran this headline today that I almost sent you. That was like, why is Elon Musk consistently conceiving children with Canadian women? And like, I think he's like, there
It's
is
not
some
just
sort of
Canadian
logic,
women, right?
but there's multiple now, as opposed to just like, I think his first wife was Canadian, so is Grimes, and so is the Neuralink executive.
The article she sent me the other day says, "Does Elon Musk have a breeding kink?"
That's the thing. I don't think it's like sexual for him. I think if he had the option to asexually reproduce by like dividing in two, I think he would do that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I really do think this is some kind of like, we'll just like, as I hope all of you know, I fully believe he fathered Amber Heard's baby, who was born via surrogate. So there was, as far as I know, no romantic path to making that child.
There are
and
suspicions.
I think in some way that he was like, well, she's very beautiful, but she's crazy. So we'll just roll the dice and see how this kid goes. I've got a couple other Cooking with Grimes and that one with that girl in Austin. Like,
Yeah,
I think at
the
this
scientific
point,
method.
yeah, I really do think he's just seeing what happens. But I'm obsessed with this story, just in case anyone wanted to know.
Do you want to read the Hollywood Life one, or at least give a general overview for the one about him and Natasha Bassett?
So
Bassett?
Brett sent me Megan McCain, who I dismissed on Face. And then
she
today
did.
it came out that, because every morning I check the news for my other job and like flag stuff that I want to write about. But now all the algorithms send me Elon Musk stuff because they know I'll click on it.
All of our chats are just Elon Musk stories
updates back and forth.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even that, like, he's fine. I don't totally trust him. But like this procreating pro-family stance is
Thank
the
you.
best. Because he put out this tweet that was like, I am doing my best to help with the like underpopulation crisis. And I well, he said
Doing his part.
Okay, he said, I hope you have big families and congrats to those who already do. Like, he just makes me laugh. But anyways, so this morning, the big update is that he and his 28-year-old actress girlfriend, Natasha Bassett, who's in the new Elvis movie, have broken up amid his surprising twins revelation.
It's not that surprising though. Also, like,
I think if you're dating Elon Musk, you just have to now be prepared that like he has more kids than you will ever know about, or that he will disclose to you.
do you think it was mutual, or do you think that she dumped him?
Maybe she's mad that he did not offer to impregnate her.
She's like, what did I do
That's
wrong?
why I think
She's like,
there's.
why am I not a good enough specimen
That's what
to
I mean.
mother your
He's
child?
like, win your first. What do actresses win, Brett?
Best actress.
Oscars?
Oscars?
Tonys? Whatever. I don't know. Words are irrelevant.
Tony is
to
just
me.
for the stage.
He's like, if you win an
Emmys?
Oscar, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
When you prove that you're someone of value. She's like an elite Forbes 30 under 30 and, whatever. So, but her reps were like, it was a big revelation and this movie just came out, so it's been sort of stressful. They've broken up.
Is that how she talks?
They've broken up.
I think
It's
it's like so
stressful.
obvious. Like, could you imagine if you're dating this guy and he's like, by the way, I had a kid with Grimes via surrogate. I think I told you about that one. And she's like, yeah, okay, like unusual arrangement, but no problem. And then he's like, oh, actually, surprise twins. And she's like, wait, stop. How many more? And he's like, I can't tell you.
I can't tell you.
I don't remember.
There are 10 other ones in the oven right now, actually.
Oh my gosh. Anyways,
As far as we know.
Elon Musk, father of 10. The
And
best.
it's not really totally connected, but I found this before we were done. It's ice cream, an Eat the Rich ice cream truck selling billionaire popsicles, and Elon Musk is their number one seller. So people are eating $10 popsicles of Elon Musk's face.
They're all his
Do they
kids,
look
so-
accurate? Or do they look like the kind of messed up SpongeBob ones?
They look kind of messed up.
I love that.
He's buying them for his children, so they
Do they have a
remember who he
Bezos
is.
one?
The Jeff Bezos one kind of looks like the patient from the game Operation.
You have to like lick his bald head.
Yes, you do.
Well, that makes me feel nauseous. I don't like that at all.
The oddly enough, the Mark Zuckerberg one looks more human than Zuckerberg actually looks.
But
so.
it tastes like Sweet Baby Ray's.
Would you guys? Okay, I would definitely get the Zuckerberg one. The Bill Gates one is cute because it has glasses.
The Elon Musk one doesn't even look like him.
Yeah, that's the least accurate.
And they're $10 suckers, so I like that the lady's price gouging on her like
Love it.
overpriced popsicles. Good for her. We could do Florence Pugh before we go.
All
Wait,
right.
wait, just a prediction. How many kids do you think Elon Musk is ultimately going to have?
25.
Overall, in his entire life,
He has.
he has the rest of his life to do this.
Well,
This is a
and like
project
men
of
can
his.
stay fertile for a long time. And
I
he's
think
just dating
he's
young
going
ones.
for triple digits.
Triple digits.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he's going to stop at 20.
He doesn't have a number in mind.
No, I think he's just going to see. It depends on how many good specimens he
He wants to be Genghis Khan.
You know what? We'll say Florence Pugh.
No, do it. Do it.
Uh,
oh, sorry. It's not my show.
I mean, if you want.
If you are like opinionated on it, like,
do you have strong feelings on Florence Pugh and Free the Nipple, which feels very 2016?
It's so
I
archaic.
think we're doing it is what's happening, just in case anyone's wondering.
We're doing it, okay?
Florence Pugh freed the nipple, and these visionaries helped pave the way for those before her.
That headline, I think I'm the one who said this.
Visionaries.
He's visionaries.
Dude.
Like, we're talking about the degradation of culture through Marvel movies, and Jezebel's
Meanwhile,
over here, like, these visionaries who dared to show you that they have nipples.
How dare they?
Oh my gosh.
How dare they?
Have you ever seen any Renaissance painting at any time?
So basically the idea here is, do you want to lead this? Anybody else want to lead this one? I know that people are mad that she wore a Valentino dress.
Well,
Not that it's Valentino.
She, her message was, take a look at yourself, fellas. Then take a look at your mates and step up when, I love how British it is, step up when it's time to step up. When the boys are out of line, have a word. The weird thing about misogyny is men actually listen to other men.
Yeah, this is the guy from Bridgerton saying this.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So do your bit, because the next few years, in particular, are going to be a really good time to listen and take some responsibility for everyone's sake.
What does that even mean?
I think this is so weird.
I think
Why do we
that
need to
the
talk
free
about
the
this?
nipple thing is like a very archaic, like beginning of the culture war issue. Sort
Yep.
of like free bleeding, like it was never even a thing.
Yep.
But
Period art. Period blood
definitely,
art.
yeah.
The whole thing is that she wore this dress that you could see her nipples through, and then this means that she is a very good feminist.
Like, dude, have you been seeing what Julia Fox
Yeah.
has been wearing? Like, she's
Megan-
actually a visionary in fashion. Not saying I love everything she wears, but you're not exactly like pushing boundaries by
Also,
showing
like,
this part of your body.
No, you're not pushing boundaries at all. It's not that interesting. The dress is cool. It would look just as cool with a lining. It would actually be not as memorable without the nipples. And so if you,
Yeah.
I have this thing where, like, if you have to show your body parts, like your breasts or like whatever, to make something memorable, then like you should probably develop a more interesting style.
It's
I
also
don't know,
annoying
personally.
that in like 10 years they're going to complain about how they were objectified in the industry. And
Of course,
and
yeah.
That's the part that infuriates me about all this stuff, is they're always defiant when they're younger, and then when they get older, they're like, I can't believe I was objectified by the men of this industry. I'm like, well, you know, boo-hoo.
And as you would expect, Jamila Jamil commented, "You are a magical effing queen, and we do not deserve you." I just think
the
like
lack
this
of
is
sincerity is almost staggering.
Also, she could put that on anything. That's like not even a specific to this. Like,
yeah. The comment section on this post is really just like celebrities doing what they do.
yes,
like,
Queen Slay.
Yas Queen slaying and girl bossing it up.
I just don't
Nothing
care.
out of the ordinary.
I do love the retro nature of Free the Nipple being brought back, and kind of like when we were talking about the activist guy talking about Greenpeace and like saving
Yeah,
the
it's
rainforest.
nostalgic.
It feels like a throwback.
Makes you feel like
Y2K
it's
aesthetic is
Trump
in. Right?
versus
Yes.
Hill Dog all over
all
again.
over again. God,
I just
God
like
help us.
I just don't understand why they're like, oh, so you're offended by my nipples, and everyone else is like, no,
Like, that
I
was a
literally
presumption
was
in and of
not
itself.
cared. And they're like, oh, because you're backward. Like, it just seems like initially when you sent this to me, I didn't want to talk about it because I was like, I don't care. But it bothers me that they are like, what is so terrifying about seeing my naked chest? No, everyone else is like, literally no one cares. And they're like, oh, so you admit that I'm provoking you
And it
into
like sounds like someone wearing a trench coat and exposing themselves to people in public.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like. So
Let's do super chats.
let's go to super
Brett's
chats.
like, I'm tired.
C. Lynn said, I love that Mary knows her emo lore. The fact that she immediately knew who Tillian was made my day. Mary is no poser, guys. Dude, I was listening to Dance Gavin Dance in the car this morning on the way here. Like, I'm about it. Okay? I know the lore.
Carter also.
I
You and
watch
Carter.
YouTube documentaries about this stuff. Badaff said, now there's Warped Tour cruises for elder emos. And no, I just like saying money shout when money shoots out and flies at your talking head.
Perfect.
Yeah, those cruises are dystopian. Maybe new Titanic movie incoming.
How many people do you think are going to meet like their future spouse on one of those cruises? It's not just like a vacation.
Scarily, like,
I think it like is where people are gonna
probably
meet
a
you.
lot.
Because it's like they have something in
You
common.
know what? Good for them. Like, more millennials need to be
Meeting
Married.
people in the wild.
yeah, like
Yes.
getting hitched up. Bad App said, I hope all my super chats go to Mary's manicure fund.
Perfect.
They don't, but thanks anyway.
Or they're like on the cruise and they use like Tinder on the cruise and meet somebody.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's stupid.
More of that than anything,
Yep.
sadly. Dragon's Talon 1001 said, Elon's just having kids to make sure he gets a couple kids into Elysium. There's your dystopian society.
Yep. Elysium.
Caper2X said, 2 to tango. What did women see in him?
In Elon?
Money.
Gee, I wonder.
Also, it's not just money, because Jeff Bezos has like his GFs, whatever, but they're not into him. I think women are into Elon
Yeah.
Musk because he has like sort of
There's
an
an edge.
interesting personality.
He's interesting. I think he's fairly good looking. He's also like, as far as we can tell, like a very devoted father, which I think indicates some level of like emotional attentiveness. Like,
At least I hope so. I
Did you
don't
see
think like
the-
outside of having a normal monogamous relationship with a mother of your children, you can possibly be involved in all 20.
yeah, it's getting out of
Children's
hand,
lives.
especially since they live everywhere.
Yeah.
But with the original 5, he like
Yeah.
had them going to school in his factory, and there was like he'd be like, no, I see them. I like carve time out
Yeah.
to spend with them.
I think he
It's a
puts
somewhat
them in
ordinary
different time
arrangement.
zones so he can read them good night stories at a staggered rate. Like,
That doesn't
What
sound
a good
horrible.
guy.
like, did you ever see the video of like Bezos at like a red carpet and he's got his girlfriend with him and she's like they're
Oh,
staring
yeah.
at Leonardo
And-
DiCaprio?
Yeah, like
And
Jeff
poor
Bezos
just
doesn't
gets- yeah.
actually like have women interested in him. They're interested in money, but with Elon, I think he would have GFs anyway.
And
I think
Bezos has worked to get himself back into shape. He's like he shaved his head to make himself look edgier. He's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think also Elon Musk is now like he had his first wife and then he had been married, but then it seems like he's picking women who have like very intense career paths. So it's like they're an agreement to have these children together with like a mutual co-parenting, whatever, and then have careers. Like it seems like in some way he has moved beyond romantic relationships in his life.
He has evolved past romance.
And it's sort of like Kanye's relationships with his like muses, so-called muses, or like dress-up doll women. Like it's not really a romantic thing. Goofer Trooper said, all super chats should go to Mary's baking fund and making sure one of you can go on the Beanie Man show daily. I'll be on tonight. I already asked him.
double check.
Yay!
Yeah, I double checked. Dragon's Talon said, at least the Bezos popsicle wouldn't have you coughing up a hairball. So true.
One of my favorite memes of all time is the one of Elon, and it just says, it's like, when you're so rich, your hair grows back.
Yeah, it's
It's
the
just
oh
picture
my gosh, one of the best.
When his hair, because he just clearly got a very good hair transplant.
Goofer Trooper said the Elon popsicle looks the most edible. Trust me, they all taste the same.
See, Elon's the guy
No,
who...
I think Mark Zuckerberg's tastes like Sweet Baby Ray's.
Sweet Baby Ray's.
and the thing is,
Sweet
those,
Baby Ray's?
I could see Elon buying this, like, from this lady and franchising it, like, out of, like,
Oh,
just
yeah,
for the memes.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, one of them, like, because it's funny and we all like it, like, you know, one of them is like, I want to sue her for for using my image. But then the other one,
That would
like,
be Bill Gates.
they also,
probably.
yeah, it would be Bill Gates. But they also don't want to be the guy who's like,
He's the
suing
player
a little
hater.
ice cream lady.
Yes.
But
yes.
Musk would be all about it.
Yeah, Elon Musk is like the most able to laugh at himself.
And he gets the
then
power of memetics.
Zuckerberg just has like other people who work for him who tell him what's funny or not.
And when to laugh.
Yeah, yeah. Dragon's Talon said, wait, feminists are happy she shows her nipples, but doesn't call her out for not being fatphobic? Or for being fatphobic?
Is she fatphobic?
Is she
Is she?
fatphobic?
I don't know.
I don't believe in that, so I wouldn't know.
Florence Pugh exposed.
I do know that she has like a big age gap. She's dating Zach Braff, the guy who's
Braff,
on
the
Scrubs.
guy from Scrubs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ugh, bad up. This is so dark. A lot of fetuses were aborted from emo night.
Oh, man.
The fact that it's like probably unironically true.
Start a band called Plan B.
Yikes. Well, that's Plan C.
Yes.
Eek.
Ugh.
On that note,
On that note,
is that the last one?
that was a fantastic
I hate
show
that.
What a weird way to go out.
This show was weird, but I liked it.
It fixed the vibes. We should watch Chet Hanks one more time just to make the vibes better. In
Is this
fact,
gonna be a thing where I find that you two are like up here having a meeting, like, but actually just checking in on Chet Hanks? He's like giving you some words of wisdom daily.
We are
doing it.
So
manifesting.
we gotta stay
Chet
sober. We
Hanks on
gotta
the
get
show.
jacked, pray,
We gotta get
meditate. Don't fucking think it's all just a bunch of kumbaya bullshit.
Don't.
If you're like, I don't believe in God, fucking believe in him, motherfucker, because he believes in you.
He
And
does.
if you don't want to use the word God, then fine. Pick some fucking word. But it's God, motherfucker. God. Guidance, order, and direction. Period.
Period.
Okay, real question. He filmed one yesterday too. Was he also wearing a white shirt?
Yes.
Did you think he like sat down Sunday and was like, I'm gonna prep all
think
my
I-
posts for the week, and then just did a bunch of these? I'm
I
like,
think
Whoever is Chet Hanks' social media manager.
Chet Hanks.
Is it Chet Hanks?
I bet Chet Hanks is his own.
Is he
social-
that authentic?
I think so. I think
love that for him.
I don't think there's anything inauthentic about Chet Hanks. So,
Of course.
all right, Hannah Claire. Oh, we got a couple. One more super chat there. I think. one
Yeah,
or two,
at least it's not
Yeah.
the other
Brett's
one.
like, go away, Hannah Claire.
Cooper Trooper said, more T-Rex Brett. Also, everyone say groovy, please. Well, I just said groovy when I read it. So
Groovy.
Groovy?
Groovy.
Why?
we just follow your commands.
Do you remember when we get
What
those
are we?
scam calls and they'd say like, don't say hello to the phone because then they steal your hello and then they like steal all your stuff? Oh yeah, a bunch of old ladies told me about this
They
one.
steal
That-
your hello.
Like it's like they're recording your voice. They
That's
want you to say the phrase
superstitious.
yes so that they can like access your bank account or something. I don't
That
know.
is never happening. And with that, Hannah Claire, let everyone know where they can find you on social media. I'm getting us out of here in the most even
Why?
keel.
Wait, I'm
and
sorry. You mean that they were like trying to record you like Ferris Bueller style, like to use your
Yeah.
voice
It was
as
like
a soundboard
I have no-
on the phone
look,
with your bank?
I'm not saying that this is like real what was actually
I'm
happening,
sorry.
but I used to get told this all the time. They're like, when you get a scam call that like says like hello and you're like, who is this? Like they're trying to record your voice so they can like trick your bank account later. There seemed like there were a lot of steps in between to me, but when I'm asked to repeat
You're
a
like-
word while we're recording, I like can't help but be like, why?
Like someone with your bank is like on the other end being like, can you tell me your social, please? And it's just yes.
Well, some banks like no,
or just like a snoring
some
noise.
banks like do voice verification, so
literally
they want
Ferris
like a sample of
Bueller.
your voice. So they'll be like, oh yeah, that's you.
I'm sorry.
It
I just
seems
had
crazy
to
to me.
address that because like
Look,
what?
I'm not saying it's real. I said some boomer ladies told me about it, and
Do we
I have to
know it's going
respect their
2
paranoia.
hours?
What?
I'm sorry. Let's
Oh,
wrap
okay.
up the show.
one more super chat that just
Oh, was
came in
there?
from Bad App. Yep.
Okay. Emo died when they took the loco out of Four Loco.
Well,
They
Twi-
did?
I have no idea. I know Twisted Tea
This
took
is
over
news
for a
to
while
me.
as far as meme drinks. So
And then White Claw did.
yes. Well, that's
But that's like, I don't think the emo kids are like wanting to associate with the White Claw kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hannah Claire. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Brett looks at me and says, "Please go away."
He's like, end the show already.
I'm just trying to find a graceful way. I'm just
There
doing my
isn't
best
one.
here.
I'm
Hannah Claire, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on Gab at hannahclaireb. And you can find me, of course, on timcast.com. I'm there every day. Click on the read tab.
Click on the read tab
Click on the read tab.
every time. Mary, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram or WeChat at CloserKitty. And whenever I post articles on timcast.com, like the one I wrote on Brendan Urie today, I promote them on there. And I'm going to be on IRL later, so you can see me over there tonight.
Having way less fun than we're having right now.
Yeah.
Always so serious. They're going to talk about abortion and politics and all this lame stuff.
But I have to dutifully shill for PCC
Yes,
on
we are-
IRL.
We are approaching 35K, which I'm very excited
for
about.
us.
It means the world to us, guys. And we got one more super chat from Dragonstell and says,
They know how to keep us here by just continuing the super chat.
Brett is the
It works.
Brett is the Nigerian prince that wants to give you millions of dollars from emails. He's right. That is that. I am that guy. I am that guy.
And you're
So,
just going like this.
yes. I am the T-Rex of Nigerian princes in the emails.
You're
So.
the Nigerian T-Rex prince.
What are we talking about anymore?
Okay. All right, guys. You can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic for
At
the
Brett
show.
T-Rex.
If you like this ridiculousness, it is Monday through Friday right here on YouTube.com, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific. We are also on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. I don't know why you'd want to just listen to this ridiculousness when you can watch it as well, but you can if you'd like to listen to it there. We are also on social media. We are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Are you okay?
Yeah.
What is wrong?
I'm sorry. Someone just said I never say yes on the phone. It's killing me.
See, they know what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
They too have a boomer lady
Cut
relative.
the cameras. Cut the cameras.
All right, guys, that is everything for today. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Brett's taking us off the